Eat a whatchamacallit.
Is there a 2-finger scroll that I can?
That sounds like a euphemism.
I know. I gave him a
2-finger
scroll.
But I'm serious. That's gotta be something I can do, right?
On the trackpad?
Yeah, on this laptop.
Yeah, you might have to go into the mouse settings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's check it out. Let's make this weird.
Got crackly.
Uh-oh, okay.
Suddenly got crackly. Just out of nowhere.
How about now?
Same.
Yeah, still.
Huh, it's weird.
Got some sudden crack.
Whatever you did to fix it before, do it again.
Okay. All right. You know what I'm also going to do?
Well, you're fine now, weirdly.
Yeah, Wi-Fi's off.
Got a very large house here. They could be painting any part of it by 1:30. Turns out, painting the part right where I record. So if you hear any weird noise, that's what it is.
Last night, I don't know, there's this house for sale that's on the other side of the alley. I mentioned to you all before that I'm pretty sure it's going to be a teardown, and so.
What was that?
I don't know. What was that?
I heard something weird. Was that you, Roger?
It was like a man's voice.
Yeah, it was like it felt like a video starting to play and then stopping.
Oh.
I wasn't.
I got nothing going.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it was seems to be over. Anyway, yeah, there's a house for sale, and the whole thing is just weird. But everything in my neighborhood's weird. But the other night, it's like here's sort of like sounds like a saw, like electrical saw, and it's like 10 p.m. You know, and I look out the window like, what is happening? And some guys are like sawing into the house with hard hats, and I'm like, is there a fire? I mean, it's so loud. It's like I don't think they were breaking and entering. Maybe there was just some reason that the lock didn't work, or
they were trying to break into the lock, or
yeah, but I don't think they were trying to break into the building.
Or they were locksmiths helping out somebody who couldn't get in.
Right? Yeah, I don't even think anyone's living in there right now. The whole thing's confusing, but it was the sort of thing where it was like, well, if it was during the show, that would have sucked because it was really loud.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys about ready? 30 second warning.
All right.
30 seconds to air.
Meow.
Ladies and gentlemen, satellite uplink go. What was that called? The views? I can't remember.
Well, you made Tech TV?
Yeah. Well, we used it at CNET too.
Oh.
Yeah. 10 seconds.
Don't remember.
You have to reserve it in 15-minute windows. All right, here we go. 3. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To support the show directly and become a member, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, September 12th, 2018. In Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline and K9, I'm Sarah Lane.
Salt Lake City, still breathing your air, California. I'm Scott Johnson.
We're not. We're sending it to Salt Lake City.
I am Roger Chang, and I'm not responsible because I stay home most of the day.
Doesn't mean you're not blowing our air to Scott's region.
Right.
I'm blowing you kisses, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Well, it is Apple announcement day, and that means we're going to go through all of the Apple announcements in a few minutes. So hang on, Apple fans. We'll get to that, but let's start with a few other tech things you should know.
Today, Uber unveiled a full rebrand, which the company says first began about 9 months ago in order to make company branding more clear as Uber continues to expand into new and different markets and, of course, partner with other companies as well. Gone is the Uber symbol that's been featured on its app icon for the past 2 years, which the company said actually confused customers.
Nintendo Switch Online will launch on September 18th. You guys, that is right around the corner. For $20 a year, that's about $4 a month, or $7.99 for 3 months. You can save a little bit of cash, but it's on its way.
The United States FCC says it has paused its review of a potential merger of Sprint and T-Mobile to give it more time to analyze submissions on network expansion and expected benefits of the merger coming from both companies. Also, T-Mobile wants to do some additional economic modeling. The 180-day review period will now hold at day 55. Merger is also being reviewed by the U.S. Department of Justice.
Verizon Communications confirmed today that Guru Garapan will place Tim Armstrong as the CEO of Oath and report to Verizon CEO Hans Vestberg. Armstrong will remain at the company to guide management transition efforts and report to Verizon Chairman Lowell McAdam.
In bummer news, in my opinion, Google's 4-year-old experimental email app Inbox will shut down in March. Many of the features from Inbox have already been added to Gmail, and others are on their way. I'm super bummed out about it because it's my favorite mobile email application.
But all those features are in Gmail now. So
almost all. Interface-wise, though, it's not the same.
I see. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what you can't do in Europe soon. The European Parliament voted to approve an updated version of the copyright directive. We've talked about it before on the show. It's the one they rejected back in July. This new approved version still includes Articles 11 and 13. You'll often hear those referred to as the link tax and the upload filter. The link tax says that if you are going to significantly link to news organizations, the news organizations have a right to charge you. The upload filter says that any large company that wants to do content uploading must filter and try to prevent, anyway, not necessarily filter, but they have to prevent copyrighted works from being uploaded. Article 11 now allows the sharing of just links. If the link itself has the headline in the link, you're not going to be punished anymore. So link sharing is okay. It's just when you start doing excerpting that these rules might apply. And Article 13, the upload filter, now only applies to sites that host significant amounts of content and promote that content, as well as carving out an exception for small businesses. The directive is not in place yet. You'll see a lot of people very angry about this, saying Europe has been ruined. It's all over. It's not quite all over. There's a final vote coming in January, so there's still a chance to profess objections to it. And if it passes, individual countries would then further refine how it's implemented in each of their countries. So they have some latitude in interpreting it as it is implemented, say in Germany or Netherlands or Hungary, et cetera. I think the thing to wonder here, though, is why was it approved at all? Because pretty much everyone, Tim Berners-Lee, Jimmy Wales, all of the folks, Europeans and non-Europeans who are working on the internet said, yeah, you need to fix copyright, but not like this.
Yeah. I don't like the vagaries either. The vagaries being things like sites that host significant amounts of content.
Well, did you read the actual EU directive, or are you just quoting what I wrote? I was
about to say, I haven't read the
okay, because it may be more specific.
Right, and it may be. My point is that it's going to, no matter what they do, no matter how detailed they get about that information, people are going to interpret that as really broad and reaching and also not specific enough. And even if that language is very specific, people are going to find issues with it because it does seem to just bark in the face of a free and open internet in a way that I feel like we haven't seen for a while. This is Scott's opinion. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, and the fact that every country can implement it a little differently is a problem too.
Right.
I mean, to your point about that.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not about to say the walls are falling, but I can see why Europeans are upset. And I would be too, if I were them, even on just the face of it. Like you said, there's devils in the details. You got stuff happening before January. This isn't being voted on right now. Like a lot could happen and some of the freak out will happen. And that sometimes changes things, but I don't like it at all. It just feels
as we saw with the GDPR, rules made in Europe sometimes have effects around the world just because it's easier for a company to implement once everywhere than to try to go region by region.
Testers of the Windows 10 October 2018 update have noticed a dialog box launches when installing Chrome or Firefox that says you already have Microsoft Edge, the safer, faster browser for Windows 10. Those pop-ups can be turned off in settings.
Oh man, why? This is the old Microsoft. This is not the new, kinder, gentler Microsoft of Satya Nadella that we're seeing. This feels like the old Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer Microsoft, where you do whatever you can to try to knock out the competition.
Well, but I mean, it's not like Microsoft is the only. I mean, Apple every so often is trying to get me to use Safari as my default browser. I feel like we've been doing this a long time.
Sure. And Firefox does it too, where they say like, hey, we notice Chrome is your default browser. Would you like to change to Firefox? I've seen that. But that's different than doing it at the operating system level, where Windows like, hey, we know we own most of the marketplace out there. So before you even get that browser installed, we're going to ask you if you really want to be doing that. I feel like that's a little different.
In Microsoft, or in Apple's case, like today, you can't watch the keynote on anything but Apple stuff, and Safari is a good example of that. So
you can watch it on Edge on Windows.
You could also watch it on Twitter.
Yeah, you can watch it on lots of stuff. But my point is, if you're going to watch it on a browser on your desktop and you run it in Chrome, it says, sorry, not supported. Turns out it's only going to happen in Safari. So there's an example of them kind of nudging people in a direction.
Sure.
This is so overt where they say you already have Microsoft Edge. The safer, faster browser for Windows 10 implies that they are literally the safer, faster browser. Both of those things could be argued.
Yes, at the very least.
Yeah.
or outright refuted.
I don't like it at all. Samsung opened its largest mobile store in Bengaluru on Tuesday. How you like that? It's pretty good. The 3,000 square meter store will include mobile devices, other consumer electronics and service center that they'll have there. Comes 2 months after Samsung opened its biggest smartphone plant in New Delhi. So big inroads in India.
Yeah, India, of course, one of the top 3 markets for smartphones. And depending on how you look at it, possibly the top market for smartphones, certainly for growth right now as China as a market starts to mature. And Samsung is not waiting around. You hear about Apple sort of toying around with the restrictions on parts being made in India, and they're going to have a factory and they're trying to get some easements so they can open some Apple retail stores. Samsung just went and built a factory, and now they're opening their biggest store. I mean, that's a statement to say like we are putting everything we can into the Indian market.
It's also Bengaluru, which it's in an area that is a big tech hub, but specifically, if you're not familiar with it, sort of in the southern part of the country, and yeah, lot of tech companies, a lot of many of the companies that you know and love have outposts there, and so it makes a lot of sense that this would be the right location to expand into India specifically.
You know, and here's the thing. This is a total side note, but Bangalore or Bengaluru is called the Silicon Valley of India. Which shouldn't they have some cool like silicon curry or I don't know, something more appropriate? Like, you know, we have the Silicon Hills and the Silicon Alley and
Silicon Beach.
Yeah, right.
I live apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of scooters. The Silicon Valley of India. Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like a challenge. Let somebody come up with something better, and then we'll try to see if it catches on.
Particularly those of you who live in India. Maybe you already know. Maybe you're like, oh no, there's already a good one. You know, send it to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. And also, if anybody gets to this store, 3,000 square meters. I mean, that's huge. Send us some pictures. Love to see it.
I would love to see what that looks like in there. You know.
Educational hardware company LittleBits announced 3 new kits available in time for the new school year in the United States. The $10 base inventor kit includes 10 bits that can be used to create all kinds of things. If you don't know LittleBits, the whole point is they want to encourage kids to mix and match and try stuff. But some of the examples that you can make with the base kit are a voice-controlled robotic hand, a smart lamp, an intruder alarm, keep your siblings out of your room, I guess. There's also the $100 electronic music inventor kit that has 8 bits and same sort of deal. You can make lots of different things, but there's a keytar bass, which is a keyboard guitar if you've never seen jazz, or a drum kit. You could actually turn it into a drum kit as well as many other things. And then there's the $130 space rover inventor kit. That one has 15 bits, 30 activities, and is centered around an app-controlled planetary rover to kind of pretend like you're on Mars or the moon or something.
I love this. It's another example of stuff I wish was around when I was a kid. I'd go straight for that 130 deal if people can swing it, because that seems like probably the best bang for the buck. I think the other two sound great and all, but there's something about making your own version of a rover type vehicle that is going to make every 10-year-old kid's head explode. It sounds amazing.
I mean, buy them all, right? Just,
Yeah, I guess get them all if you can. Good point.
I mean, if you could afford it, obviously.
There
That's
seems to be,
$330. That's not nothing.
There seems to be like this stuff's popping lately. You got Nintendo with their weird initiative with cardboard. You got other stuff like this popping up. I feel like we're going to see more and more of it. It's easier to put small computing devices in in kits that people can then assemble and make something really cool out of it. Like this really is the erector set of a whole different generation, and I envy it. I think it's amazing.
This is another one. I'd love to see some pictures at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com if anybody's got these or gets these new ones and has created some projects. It'd be cool to see that. For the price of a third of an iPhone, you can get all three of the new kits.
Be the kid with the Rover. Don't be the kid with the keytar. I'm just saying. It's fine.
Don't throw shade on the kid with the keytar. Keytar is a perfectly valid life choice.
Okay,
Yes.
kid. It's not about the kid with the keytar. It's about the keytar. I hate that thing.
Nothing wrong with a keytar. Show Scott he's wrong. Send us your coolest keytar projects to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. We're going to talk about the Apple Watch. We're going to talk about the XS and XS Max. And we're going to talk about the Tennis Match and the XR and even the HomePod probably. But let's start with the Apple Watch Series 4. It's got a larger display, as we knew, 35% and 32% larger. For the small is 35% larger. The big is 32% larger. Screen now goes to the edge almost. It's got some nice curved corners. They also made a big deal about the fact that it's thinner. So in total volume, it's actually smaller than the Series 3. There are some new complications, new watch face with customizations, a modular face, which lets you put in third-party app things like, sports scores or your boarding info for your plane. The Breathe app is now available as a watch face. So you can raise it to your wrist to breathe. I also have some cool dynamic watch faces, a lot of the watch face stuff. The big design change on the outside visually that you'll recognize right away is the crown now has a red circle instead of being solid red. The speaker is supposedly 50% louder. They moved the mic to the opposite side of the speaker so that it doesn't get in the way when you're talking over it. Back is black ceramic and sapphire crystal, which is transparent to radio. That should help improve LTE. It's got a 64-bit dual-core S4 chip, a new GPU. They claim both have twice the performance of the Series 3. Extended range, extended G-force on the gyroscope and the accelerometer. And this one was interesting. It can identify falls. So if it tells you've fallen, it'll wait to see if you move and give you the option to call 911. If it doesn't feel you've moved for a minute, it will automatically call 911. And they made a big deal about new heart rate monitors. They'll be monitoring now not just for fast heart rate, but low heart rate, arrhythmia, irregularity, and the electrocardiogram, where you put a finger on the crown and then tap the face and the other sensors on the back of the watch, and it can give you sort of a rough estimate of your electrocardiogram. You can hand over that data to your doctor. They have FDA approval for the heart rates and the rhythm, not for the electrocardiogram. They sort of fudged that and made it sound like maybe they did, but they don't. Bluetooth 5, same battery life, silver, gold, gray, and black or gold stainless, and new Hermes. And here's the important part. Starting prices of $399 with GPS, $499 for cellular. That's starting prices. And the Series 3 is now $295. Available in 26 markets, 16 markets for cellular. And you can start ordering this Friday, and they'll be available September 21st. And everybody who has a watch gets watchOS 5 on September 17th.
Yeah, it looked like a nice incremental upgrade to the device. I think the bigger screen and that stuff is cool. The thinness and the larger displays is cool. The thing that I'm most excited about, if I were to, and I'm not really sure I'm in the market for a Series 4, given what they showed today. My 3 is going to probably do just fine until whatever's next. But the wheel, adding haptic feedback to what's it called? Sorry, not the wheel. The
crown.
Crown, thank you. So watch terms throw me off. Complications and crowns. It is all very complicated. But anyway, that thing right now is just a swimmy thing that you push and you don't really get any kind of feedback other than visual. I love the idea of that having some haptic feedback. Beyond that, though, I don't know. probably it seems like a great thing if you're on a 2 and you're thinking I might upgrade every other. This might be a good time to do it.
Yeah, as somebody who's never had an Apple Watch before, and I just have a different watch that I wear, and I've never had an Apple Watch, so I don't really know what I'm missing yet. I feel like maybe it's time. The problem is it's very pricey because I'd like to get a new iPhone as well, and I know we'll get to that in a second, but I don't think I would get an Apple Watch that didn't have LTE enabled. I can see so many scenarios where that would become annoying. So that price is steep. It's $500 watch.
I have the LTE Series 3.
Yeah.
And I don't really run into any issues where I feel like, oh, I'm so glad I have LTE right now. Like I think.
Well, all right, yeah. Maybe I'm convincing myself just because I'm so used to it, with a smartphone that I would need it. Like you said, Scott, it sounds like a much more powerful version, but with not that many new. Yeah, some things are upgraded. It's certainly faster. Battery life's the same for more bells and whistles. The whole falling thing is, I'm sure that's going to come in real handy. Fallen and I can't get up jokes. I bet they were all over Twitter this morning. But
the first thing I thought was I fall all the time. I'm a clumsy person. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't want this thing constantly asking me if I want to call 911 or mistakenly thinking I haven't moved and calling 911 for me. I'm a little nervous about that.
This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fall, and you're supposed to say, "I've fallen and I can't afford medical bills."
Please do not call 911.
Watch that cost me as much as a set leg. So.
I'll tell you what, the heart rate stuff was compelling to me as someone who's getting a little older, trying to watch my heart health. I had a weird EKG one time, within the past year. So all of that stuff was appealing to me. I'm not sure if it's enough to make me upgrade yet, but I liked those features. Not everybody's going to care about that though. One
side note about the LTE, I also got the LTE Series 3 and I never even activated it. Turns out because my phone's with me all the time, I never use it.
Well, all right. Maybe I don't need it after all. Fine. I'll save some money.
We've got the 5.8-inch iPhone XS and the 6.5-inch iPhone XS Max. Both are OLED displays at 458 pixels per inch with IP68 waterproof. That's 2 meters up to 30 minutes. Stainless steel with gold, silver, and gray finishes. 60% increase in dynamic range over the iPhone X. They kept talking about wider stereo sound. You have to listen to see if you can tell. Faster Face ID, although I don't think Face ID is that slow, but it'll probably be a little snappier. That's nice. The chip is the A12, the A12 Bionic chip, which is built on a 7-nanometer process, 6-core CPU, 2 high-performance cores, and 4 battery-efficient cores. There's a 4-core GPU that's up to 50% faster and an 8-core neural engine for the machine learning stuff. And because the chip can handle more storage, that you can get it up to 512 gigabytes now. Core ML apparently runs 9 times faster with 1/10 the energy use. And they showed a bunch of apps like Elder Scrolls Blades running on it. There's a 12 megapixel wide camera and 12 megapixel telecamera on the back. New sensors in the wide cam, f/18 new True Tone flash, telelens is f2.4. 7 megapixel front cam, f2.2 with a faster sensor. New feature on the camera. They talked a lot about the camera, but the new feature is Smart HDR. So 0 shutter lag, highlight detail, shadow detail, and merging the final photo to make the HDR look even better with some smarts. Some improved bokeh. And the coolest thing I thought, as far as the photos go, slider in the edit that can alter the depth of field after you've taken the photo. That's kind of nifty. It can record video with stereo sound. It gets 30 minutes more battery than the iPhone X, so not a lot. The Max gets an hour and a half more battery than the iPhone X. Can do gigabit LTE, dual SIM, but dual SIM with 1 physical card and 1 eSIM card, although they have like Geo and Verizon and I think, I can't remember the European carrier I saw, but they have a lot of carriers on there. And they will have a 2 physical SIM model for China where eSIM is not allowed. The prices are high. The XS starts at $999 for the 64 gigabyte. You can also get more expensive ones at $256 and $512. The Max starts at $1,099. Pre-orders start on Friday, ships September 21st. More locations getting it September 28th. And the iPhone 7 is now $449 and the iPhone 8, $599. And we all, any of us who have a compatible phone anyway, get iOS 12 on September 17th.
It's a lot.
Ooh, Ooh, yeah, it's funny. Some folks who should really listen to this show more often were having meltdowns. Why are they calling it these? Are they kidding, Max? What's going on with it? Apple's gone crazy with naming. I wanted to say like, well, we've been complaining about this for 2 weeks, but somehow it was, and I know this isn't the point, but somehow it was weirder to have it all up on the display behind all the executives at the keynote today. The naming is starting to get complicated. I
think if they just had the number 10, none of us would care. It's the fact that they're using the X and they're not even using the X on OS 10 anymore that's causing all the people to freak out about it, because it's just the 10th iPhone.
Sure,
they always put an S on the off years.
Exactly, and adding an S to it again. We've been used to that for many iPhone cycles now. I wish it just had the number 10 rather than X.
I think it's telling that we're talking about that so much instead of the phone, because there really are only incremental upgrades here.
Yeah, if you already had a 10, then you are definitely looking at an increment. I ended up with an 8 plus or whatever it is last time. Because I wanted a bigger screen, and now they're giving that to me. So I am very interested in the tennis match. The tennis match, I'm going to call it from now on. I think that looks real cool, and I'm interested. I'm also doing the monthly install thing, so that price doesn't scare me so much. I'm already paying whatever I am paying a month, and it'll be that plus $10 or something. So it's not too big of a deal from my perspective. It is pretty expensive for a phone, but it is getting weird. They went through this with iPads. Things got weird with brand names, just to go back to what you're saying for a second. And then they tried to pull out of that again. And they had weird stuff like the new iPad 3. Well, where's the 4? No, there's no 4. It's the new iPad. Now it's the Retina iPad. Now there's a Pro. It's confusing. And I don't know why they do that. Also, the 10 thing, I understand the single digit numbers. When you go to a double digit, there's a thing in graphic design, and Apple's very big on this.
Yeah.
Don't go 2 digits or more. It looks weird. So you stick with a single numeral and or letter or character, and they've done that with the X again, but it does put them right back where they were with OS 10. So it's weird. I don't know why they do it. Get
ready for iPhone 10 Cougar coming soon.
And maybe this is just one of these things where it's like, yeah, I would never say OS X. It's just OS 10 in my mind, and it has been for so long. It's not even a thought, right? The brain just converts. Maybe I'm making too big a deal out of this, but I think when you put an X next to an S, you're just asking someone to say XS, not 10S.
Oh yeah.
I think the short thing that I would add before we move on is the iPhone 10 is for someone who doesn't have a phone with Face ID and really wants it, or wants a bigger screen if they already have the iPhone 10 and they just have to spend the money to get the bigger screen. But, it's not that big of an upgrade over the current iPhone 10, which you can still buy at a cheaper price. There's also the iPhone 10R, which is basically the iPhone 10 with an aluminum body. It's a 6.1 inch edge-to-edge screen, but LCD, and it doesn't have 3D touch. But really, that's kind of the only difference. It has Face ID, tap to wake. It even has the A12 Bionic chip. It only has one camera. I guess that's the other difference. 12 megapixel rear camera rather than dual. And it's $749 for the 64 gig, only available in 128 and 256 if you want to upgrade and pay more.
Yeah. It's the
and you can pre-order it on October 19th, shipping October 26th. So it comes a little later too.
Yeah, the C's are back, Tom. We're back to a phone that's cheap. Not really though. Still expensive.
White, black, blue, coral, and yellow. So it's colorful like the C too.
Sure.
I don't know about any of those colors. I think that I have a 7 Plus. I mean, I'm quite behind and have been for some time. So I'm trying to figure out which is the right phone for me. I could just get the 10. I don't have the 10, so that would be new and exciting. I've never used Face ID. So the fact that price has dropped, I think for a lot of folks, yeah, sure, I want the 10S Max. That's the one I want. And I want the biggest one, and I want the new gold color. But it's extremely expensive, starting at $1099. I mean, that means the 512 model is what, going to be like $1399?
And we got macOS Mojave coming on September 24th, as well as updates to the HomePod and TV OSs coming on September 17th.
Excellent.
Yeah, but HomePod, you can go stereo. They talked about that's kind of cool, I guess. If you want to buy another HomePod.
Oh yeah, and it's got the ability to have 2 timers at once and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fine, but that's a very expensive thing, by the way. I just want to point out they were up there just talking about like it was a throwaway idea. Oh, it's amazing. 2 of these, you should hear it. And I'm like, they're already $600 a pop. You want me to buy 2 of those? There are Sonos options and a million other options that are cheaper than that. Y'all are crazy on that one.
I will say before we move on, the depth of field, being able to manipulate that after you take a photo. What was the company that did that for the first time a few years ago? Was it Lytro?
Yeah, Lytro had it in their camera tech.
Yeah, and at the time, I remember, wow, this is just going to change the game. And obviously, I haven't tried this out on an iPhone, but the camera stuff, just the camera stuff alone, I do think is really cool. That's the only camera
I will add my 2 cents. It just looks like a lot of post-processing done in the phone instead of in software that most.
No, it is that they avowedly said that. You say that as if it's a bad thing.
Well, it does, because the Boke stuff they showed kind of looked mediocre. Like it was fine, but for a phone, but like photography wise, it's just okay.
Really? See, I thought that they all looked great, but maybe
the photo nerds are out force today, and I'm not kidding you. I have been assailed.
Thank goodness we have an in-house photo nerd in Roger Chang.
All right, I'll just.
No. I'm saying that as a positive, like, because at least for myself, my eyes are too dumb to tell the difference. So we need somebody who can tell.
Yeah, they're counting on that, right? Like they want. I don't mean that we're too dumb to tell, but they want to make it good enough that it's amazing it's coming out of a phone. But people running pro level SLR craziness, they know that it's different and that it's not as good, and that's okay. I think that's great. Both things can exist in this world.
Well, we are very glad that our subreddit exists. That's for darn sure. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can also hang out with us on Facebook, get to know one another, and talk about similar interests. Facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
Let's check out the mailbag.
Let's do it. This person did not leave their name, so I'm not going to add it here.
Paul.
Okay, fine. It's Paul. All right. Paul, I hope that this is fine that we said it was you. Paul in Michigan says, at the ripe old age of 48, I found myself single. We were talking about new Tinder options on the show yesterday. Paul says, I've been working my way through dating apps, trying to figure out how things work these days. Recently decided to give Tinder a try and allowed myself to get suckered into buying a gold subscription. Paul says, I'm getting the Tinder top picks for the last few weeks. And ironically, I find it pretty much useless. As far as I can tell, all it does is monitor the people that you swipe on normally and then feeds you the popular people in your area that match your perceived prefs. The end result is you just see a bunch of people who are already super popular and, to be put bluntly, probably out of your class. Well, don't sell yourself short, Paul. This might work better if you're young and hip, but as an older, more discerning user, I certainly don't want to pay extra to get more of these suggestions. I'd like to see the match rate on the top picks. In some ways, I feel pretty bait and switched.
Well, that sucks.
Well, and I think, and I don't know if I really explained it that well yesterday, because again, it's not as if dating apps have made people superficial where there was none of that before. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of, popular folks and rating. And the fact that Paul was like, I see what's going on, but they're not really using some cool data set that wasn't.
It doesn't sound like they're curated for him either. That they're just like pretty much everybody would get kind of the same stuff because it's just the most popular people, which that's no good.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a a Hall of Fame list. Like these people were looked at more than other folks.
Makes guys like him think, well, do I have to go to something like eHarmony? And that's depressing. I mean, no offense, eHarmony, but I don't want to go there.
Why?
That is offensive to eHarmony, just so you know.
Okay, it is to them. You have a fine service, but what I'm saying is I don't think 48's all that old. First of all, that's right around Tom and I's age. But also, it just must, I just don't like that feeling of like, okay, you've aged out of the hip thing, and the hip thing happens to just be aimed directly at a very specific range of 18 to 28-year-olds.
Now I have the eHarmony theme song stuck in my head.
Now you gotta go to eHarmony, and it just seems like a bummer. I don't know.
It sounds like a great opportunity for an enterprising entrepreneur to create a dating app for people who are perhaps older.
Well, that's eHarmony, right?
They like eHarmony.
Oh wait, something a little more rakish than.
Okay, all right, I like that. Rakish is a good word for that kind of app too.
We'll call it tie-dye.
Well, something we won't call tie-dye is Scott Johnson.
Well,
That's for sure. Unless you want us to, Scott.
it
That's
depends
it's
on when
totally
you
up to you.
talk to me. It just depends.
Well, whatever you'd like to be called, let folks know what you've been up to since we saw you last week.
Well, ironically, I shut down my tie-dye YouTube channel, so that's not there anymore.
Oh,
But
bummer. I'm really gonna miss it.
everything else that I do is up there and out in the wild, and you can find it all at frogpants.com. And as always, if you would like to engage with me on a personal one-to-one basis, why, Twitter's a place to go. I'm at Scott Johnson, and thanks for having me as always.
If you enjoy this show, there is more of it. We have an expanded version called Good Day Internet, where we talk about the life of people who like technology, not just the technology news. And it's exclusively available to the patrons at patreon.com/DTNS.
We love our patrons. We also love feedback. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday. Join us live if you can. Chat in IRC. It's a good old time. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. And find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
The Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
And how?
Man, we know how to do an Apple Day. Let me just tell you that. I'm proud of us.
Boom.
Well, I am too. And
These days used to kill me at Tech News Today.
I mean, what's changed?
I think we're just used to it.
We're like, here's how we're going to compartmentalize
Yeah,
this day.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's more like I know what to pay attention to during the announcement and what not to. You know, when they start bringing out the developers, I'm like, okay, I can relax and just watch. You know,
Yeah, I took a
maybe there'll be
bathroom
something
break at that point. Not that I don't care, but I'm like,
Grab
this is something I
myself
can
some
read about later.
peanuts. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always Tim Cook was for Tim Cook, I thought his energy level was high.
Mm-hmm.
There were sort of mixed results with some of the other presenters and I always chalk it up to, oh, this person's just nervous. I don't care how smart you are. Sometimes public speaking is just terrifying, and so you're kind of
I'm not sure if that product manager had spoken before, but it did kind of feel like she was like, oh, wow, this is a big crowd,
And I don't blame her.
Yeah, it is. It'd make me nervous.
Mm-hmm. So gather round is just the rounder watches. I mean,
guess.
not really round,
Or
but
maybe it's just
okay.
come to the campus because it's round.
Oh,
It's not even the first time they've done an announcement there, though.
I really never thought of. Yeah, see, that's too gather round. I don't know, or maybe it's just I read into it thinking that it would be a round watch, but it's rounder than it was.
What about the fall of the Apple Watch? Siri, I've fallen, I can't get up.
Because of falling. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Took a minute.
I don't like I've fallen and I can't get up. That's so played out.
Microsoft wants to edge out Firefox and Chrome.
It's a little bulky.
Right. iPhone to the max.
There's something to follow the Apple Watch. iPhone to the max. That's pretty good.
The fall of the Apple Watch I know it's clever, but it just sounds like we're saying the Apple Watch has.
And I think quite the opposite is true with the Apple Watch. I think it's
right.
high. So it'd be like the rise and fall of the Apple Watch, but then that also still sounds like it ends up.
iPhone tennis match. Bad idea, but I like it. Rings up.
As soon as you said that, Scott, that's all I could hear for the rest of the presentation. To the point where I'm like, I feel like they're saying tennis.
I know. What's it in your head?
Yeah, you can't not hear it. I'm like, it's
all
the
about
iPhone
the
tennis.
guitar.
How about 10S, anyone?
Ooh. Anyone for tennis?
Anyone for
Would that be
10S?
nice?
There we go.
NS.
Perfect.
Oh. Hey.
I like that.
Wait, how
All
are you
right.
spelling 10? Just the X?
XS, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Should the 10 be in like parentheses?
Anyone for 10S?
Like
Yeah.
so people
Anyone
don't
for
see.
10.
trying to
Yes,
figure
capitalize the X and the S.
Yeah.
who's buying 7s and 8s if you can buy that new 10R. I don't get it. The prices, they're comparable.
It'll cost you more than a tenner.
I still have my head scratchy on that one.
I totally get the 10R. The 10R is the 5C. Like it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like we took, in fact, it's even better because it's like we've got the same processor, we got the same everything. We just didn't put dual camera on it. We used cheaper materials in the body, and there's no 3D touch for some reason. We just let that sensor out. But
there's
that
no
makes it
it's not plastic, it's aluminum, which is nice.
yeah.
I mean, that's all good, I guess. I don't.
I mean, the whole thing about liquid retina display, I'm like, so LCD stands for liquid crystal. Like, okay. And it technically is a retina display. Okay. Like, that's just silly, though.
It's marketing, Tom.
Yeah.
No, I know
Tom,
that.
ever heard of marketing? Here's
There's,
how
but what I'm trying to say is marketing is always silly. This is over-indexing the normal marketing silliness.
So remember the big controversy that they had gobbled up too many OLED displays, or it was too expensive or something, and there was all this talk about whatever the future of the 10 would be. It would be.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, there was a worry about the yields around OLED screens. I remember that. Yeah.
Well, that must have worked itself out, I guess.
Yeah, and it was going to. It was because they were ramping up production at LG and the other screen makers,
Right.
and the yields didn't rise as fast as they wanted right at the beginning, but now the yields are fine. So
You need to use a different kind of yield to get it to rise faster.
Yeah.
yeast. You were trying to make a yeast joke there. I got it.
Yep, it was good. That was valiant.
Yeah.
Valiant effort.
Prince Valiant even.
Bringing a little levity to the ceremony.
Ah!
Gosh.
Right.
Just roll with it. Roll.
Stop trying to butter us up with your puns.
Oh, it's bad now.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you watch 90 plus minutes of a thing that we were able to summarize in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think we did good, though. Did real good.
Buy this watch. Don't buy this watch. Buy this phone.
Buy my product.
I also, for part of it was because I'm just sort of busy doing other stuff for the show and other things, but I didn't follow any live blogs this morning, and I usually do because there's certain knee-jerk reactions that sometimes people have that I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually a really good point. But no, I just watched the keynote as
I'll
is.
tell you what, I always follow The Verge. And the reason I follow The Verge is because Casey Newton makes the best jokes on their
Casey
life.
Newton is a very funny
He
person.
is a very funny person.
Has Casey Newton ever been on DTNS?
I don't know. I think he's been on TNT, but not DTNS maybe.
Yeah, definitely TNT.
We should have Casey Newton on DTNS Labs, and I just ask him to make jokes for 20 minutes.
That would be fun.
Please make tech joke.
Yeah.
He has to have something to riff off, though, I think, because his live blog jokes are always the best. 10S. Have we made the 10S anyone, though? That was DTNS.
That's
DTNS. It's right there in our own name. Maybe we should change the name to D10S.
E-tennis.
Oh, yeah. Tennis is big right now, guys.
Is it?
All the hot talk.
Oh yes.
Yeah, they've got opens. They've got
Anger.
they've got smashing of rackets.
Mm-hmm.
There's controversy.
There's
right.
some controversy. Yeah. The best part of I like tennis. I don't follow every single
I've always sort of
tournament,
loosely
but
followed it. I always watch
Yeah.
Wimbledon every year because it's around my birthday.
yeah, if I catch it early enough, I'm always rooting for certain folks, and I really like tennis. I find it very soothing to watch. But they're not always kids, but the people who run around and catch the balls and make sure that you have a fresh towel on the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and just like the agitation of it all, they're running like twice as fast as they really have to, as if their life depended on it each time. That's one of my favorite parts of tennis because that's just the way it is. If you
They
want
dash.
that job, you have to dash and hurt yourself potentially. Bad on your knees. Just like tennis itself.
What are they called? It's the equivalent of a ball boy in baseball, but I don't think that's what it's called. in
Yeah,
tennis.
but it's a frenzy.
Yeah.
It's
Kramer did it in Seinfeld. Remember that? He was a tennis ball boy, whatever they call him.
Oh yeah, that's right. If anyone knows more about this, it's like, is there some sort of class you have to take? You know, you have to be good at track and field
'Cause,
beforehand?
if the Patreon goes down anymore, we might have to be looking for other gigs, and that's on our list.
Well,
Oh, it is.
that's great to hear, Tom.
I found it. Ball boys and ball girls are individuals, usually in their youth, who retrieve and supply balls for players or officials in sports such as football or soccer, American football, bandy, cricket, tennis, baseball, and basketball. So they're all ball boys or ball girls.
Got it. All right.
That's cool to know. Sorry, I interrupted your financial news.
Tom was just saying that we're all going to have to become those tennis runners.
I didn't say
pretty soon.
no.
The
See,
ball runners.
you're running like a ball girl in a frenzy with what I said. I said if it were to continue to go down, at some point we would have to look for another career. So it's just smart to always be.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
any
not saying that's going to happen today.
like any wildly successful show.
Right.
If the opposite happened,
Yeah.
then we'd have to get other jobs.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Game of Thrones is ending next year. It can't go on forever.
Sure. So what's Jon Snow going to do after that?
He's probably going to get another job.
He knows
Probably going to be a ball boy.
He knows nothing. How would he know? He knows nothing.
He's also he'd be a little small to be a tennis pro. So the ball boy might be his only option. Either that or a referee.
Yeah, line judge, an umpire.
Yeah.
He might do well.
They don't call them referees.
Size shouldn't be a limitation. Maybe he could have a little a racket.
It shouldn't,
design.
Roger, but
Well, size in sports is a legitimate. It's not a prejudice. It's like, well, if you're just not tall enough to get to the basket in basketball, you're probably going to be a point guard or not play, right? Like, there's just some sports that require certain physical attributes. Like, for instance, strength. That's why I don't play sports.
Yeah, upper body strength.
Yeah.
An upper body.
or the
Right.
the desire to play
I get it.
anything against another human.
Sure, competitive.
You need that.
Yeah.
You need a competitive bone in your body. I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just say you won and we can go get sandwiches and stuff?
Yeah, and then delicious sandwiches and ice
That's
cream.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's not compete here. Let's just
That
eat our
sounds so much
sandwiches in
better.
peace.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm
that way with video games. Even it's like I don't care that. I mean, I love playing, but I'm there to play, not to have won or have some kind of weird bad honor. I hate that feeling.
It depends on the game for me, though. Like a lot of multiplayer FPSs don't interest me. Like I don't find them interesting enough. But if it were a contest of like say you were playing Super Mario Brothers, something like how many points you could score in a set amount of time, or like how far can you get in Tetris in like 5 minutes or something like that, I would be totally down for that.
Yeah. Well, that Tetris thing sounds fun. Let's play.
I love Tetris. It's weird because you can zone out and leave the world's problems behind.
Yeah,
Tetris it's meditation for sure.
It is Zen gaming.
I've always anything that's sort of like Tetris, and there are a lot of games that are the same idea. I always those are the games I like.
Blockout. I loved Blockout.
Ooh, me too.
I
Yeah.
forgot about Blockout. Yeah. That was,
I mean, I play dots on my phone on a plane all the time still. And there's nothing special about that game, but it's very
that's one of the
soothing.
reasons I still play Pocket Camp Animal Crossing, because it's just light enough.
Mm-hmm.
Saw you doing that here. You were killing
I
it.
know, you busted me. You're like, you're still playing that? I'm like, yeah.
I was impressed. It made me kind of want to get back in. So job well done, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of things that I would want to. So like bar trivia, like trivia night at a bar. I would say that would be something I would enjoy the competition.
right, because it's limited. It's for
Yeah.
fun. It's not
Yeah.
high stakes.
Also not physical.
No one gets hurt. Yeah.
And people don't go. Well, most people don't go crazy.
Yeah, you don't have like a stadium of cheering fans.
Well, you don't get like those people who are so aggro about winning that it just becomes
It's-
unfun for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and those people usually get kicked off teams.
Now,
The
we're not
next part
kicking
trivia
anyone
night.
off a team here, but we are ending the video stream. Thank you, folks, for watching. If you're a patron listening to Good Day Internet or live on our Discord, stick around. There's more to come.